guys, welcome back. So this is going to be the start of a new series on my channel related to serial killers. So if you're interested in true crime like me, I've always been interested in true crime, this is definitely the series for you. If you're not interested in true crime and it's really not your thing, I do other videos on my channel such as DIYs, some vlogs. I do a lot of like daily, kind of weekly, daily vlogs, as well as just other lifestyle videos and things. So go check those out and stay tuned for more of those. This series is strictly just like kind of the creepy, scary stuff. And I do also want to put in a little bit of a disclaimer that if you have triggers towards rape, violence of any kind, murder, sexual assault, those things are discussed in this video as well as the rest of my series. So if those things trigger you, then I suggest you click off now. Go check out some of my other videos. I'll link a couple down below if you want to go check those out. Okay guys, so let's get into this. So today we're going to be talking about the notorious Thomas Warren Whisenhant. The series that I'm starting is going to be serial killers by state. And so this state is Alabama. This is where his actions took place. And so first what I'm going to talk about is some background on him. So the background for Thomas is that he grew up in a very poor family. He also had to deal with a very domineering mother, and his father became an alcoholic due to the actions of his mother. So he was actually the youngest of 4 children. So he was the very last child, and once Thomas was born, Thomas's mother kind of wanted nothing to do with her husband. Any kind of relationship, even sexual, any kind of really relationship that they had pretty much ended on her terms. She decided that she wanted nothing to do with her husband after Thomas was born. And it got to a point where his parents never slept in the same bed. Actually, Thomas, it was brought up in his trial by his sister Evelyn that Thomas slept in the same bed as his mother until he was 16. Yeah. So that kind of gives you a little idea of the kind of psyche issues that may have caused him to lead down the path that he did. The relationship between Thomas's parents plays a big role in like the psychological side of Thomas's issues. So his mother, again, was very domineering and very controlling, even towards his father. Like I said, he did become an alcoholic over time. That wasn't how it started, but he did become an alcoholic because of his mother's actions. He did work. A lot of his money went directly to like his paychecks went directly to Thomas's mother, and his dad had no control over that. There was also abuse, physical abuse from his mother to his father, and the mother even encouraged her 4 children to abuse their father as well. Whether that be throwing things at him, verbally abusing him, just zero respect. Like, they were very disrespectful towards their father, which inevitably drove him to drink. So it's said that because of the absence of his father and the over-controlling nature of his mother, that is kind of what molded Thomas into the very violent, revengeful kind of person that he was. Is, again, his sister Evelyn did testify at his trial, and she said that he never really was a mean child, but he was often called a mild child, kind of just like reserved and didn't really say anything. But he did progressively get meaner and more violent over the years. And a lot of psychiatrists have pegged that to be because of the actions of his mother and the absence of an actual father figure. So let's get to the darker side of things. So in 1963, there was an elderly woman that was found dead in the town where Thomas was living, which in this case, it doesn't give specifics, but it is in the Mobile, Alabama area from what I found. So she was found dead, and the murder weapon was actually found in the empty lot right next to the Whisenhant's home. So the police instantly suspected Thomas. He had had prior run-ins with the police. There was actually some connection with him towards some assaults, like sexual assaults and purse snatchings. on young women in the area. So he was already on the police's radar, and they were kind of looking at him for other things. And everybody just kind of, thought of him as kind of the weird kid. So he was definitely the first suspect. So what happened was they actually did bring Thomas in for questioning, and when they went to the door, the father said, "Oh no, he was here all night." And his sister, Evelyn again, when she testified at the trial, went on record as stating, "I just agreed with my parents that he was here." In other words, stating that I know he wasn't here, but I just agreed with them. And after questioning him, the police did let a statement out at his trial saying that the police commissioner, or the police chief in that town, actually told the family that he should be psychologically evaluated. Like, he needs to get help, because when they were interviewing him and questioning him on what happened and where he was and things like that, he just kind of seemed very nonchalant and just kind of relaxed about the fact that a 72-year-old woman was killed and the murder weapon was found next to his house. Most people would be like, "Oh my god, like, that's so sad," like, "Oh my," like, very remorseful, even if they didn't commit the crime, and he just didn't care. But the family, when the police chief actually told them that, they ignored the advice and just said, "There's nothing wrong with my child." So, unfortunately, this may have been prevented, but no actions were taken. So, at his trial, a psychiatrist by the name of Claude Brown actually suggested that the reason he did the things that he did was revolved around, like I said earlier, the actions that his mom took toward him, being so controlling and overprotective and watching over him like day and night, wouldn't leave him out of his sight, sleeping in the same bed until he was 16 years old, and the absence of his father. He didn't have a father figure. Most boys grow up with a dad that teaches them how to be a man, so he never became a man, in a sense. He never really matured into an actual adult. So he was still living like a childish, mindset, where he got away with anything that he did. So now, I would like to warn you, we're going to talk about some sensitive information. I'm going to go ahead and get into the actual crime portion of the crimes that this man committed. And I just want to kind of give another trigger warning that there is rape, sexual assault, kidnapping, and things like that involved. So if you are sensitive to that information, please click off now. So in 1976, Thomas Warren Whisenhant abducted 3 young women. They were all 3 convenience store clerks, and they were drove out into the wilderness, and they were raped in the front seat of his truck. Then they were shot in the head and dragged into the woods. So their bodies were left in the woods, and he would visit them a day or so later. There's really not clear information as to what happened with each individual victim, but it says vaguely that he would revisit their bodies where he left them and then mutilate them further. So there's no record showing any reason why he killed the girls other than a psychological reason. Most serial killers will kill, or most people in general, will kill someone for a reason. They want their money. They just want to rape and then murder. So they do it for sex. They do it for money. They do it for power. They do it to feel validated, something. And it does not go on record at all to say why he committed these crimes. He really didn't talk. I tried to find an interview or anything that was done with him, and I really couldn't. I really couldn't find anything. He really didn't he didn't show any remorse. There was no real conversation that he wanted to have with really anybody about his crimes. And then also, other than a wristwatch, there was nothing that was taken from the girls. That wristwatch was actually taken off of one of the girls' bodies, and Thomas gave it to his wife as a present. Yeah. Alabama, at the time of these crimes, and to this day, does support the death penalty. So for capital murder charges, you are put to death in Alabama. So I'm going to go ahead and pop up Thomas's mugshot here. This is the man that committed these crimes. This was his mugshot when he was put into, I think it was a Mobile correctional facility. I couldn't find the name exactly, but it was Mobile County where he committed his crimes. So on May 27, 2010, he was executed by lethal injection. Lethal injection is the most common form of execution. It's not the only form. I was under the impression that lethal injection now is the only form that's legally allowed to be used. No. You still can use the other forms of execution, which I will do a whole nother video on. But just for the sake of this video, I do just want to explain for anybody that doesn't know what lethal injection is, what the process is. So this process includes 3 drugs that are administered in a specific order. So that order is one that paralyzes and kind of is like an anesthetic or a numbing agent, one that will paralyze your muscles and your movement, so you can't move. And then the third one is a agent that is pushed into the bloodstream and it stops your heart, so it causes cardiac arrest and then death. So those 3 ingredients, the names are crazy, so I have to look at them. So the first one is sodium thiopental or phenobarbital. These are barbiturates that render them unconscious for a little while. So basically it's like a relaxant or like a stimulant that basically knocks you out so you don't feel it, or like an anesthetic. The other one is pancuronium bromide, which is the muscle relaxer. So it's going to stop your skeletal system from moving your muscles and things like that. So you are pretty much paralyzed. And then the last one is potassium chloride. That is the one that stops your heart. So that's the last agent that's induced. And there's some stigma around this that it's not completely humane, which, like I said, I will do a whole nother video on that. For anyone that's interested, I do have some other information about his last moments and how long he spent in prison, which I'm going to talk about now. So he actually spent 32 years, 8 months, and 20 days on death row, or in prison waiting to be put to death, which is not uncommon. A lot of people do wait to be put to death. There is a death row. There's like a waiting list, basically. And he was one of the longest sentenced inmates in Alabama. So he waited the longest to be on death row in Alabama. I don't know if that's changed. But at the time, that was the longest record that they had. He did not have any final words. Like I said before, he was a very quiet guy. He really didn't want to talk about anything or anything like that, or he wasn't very vocal, so he did not have any final words. And for anyone that is interested, his last meal consisted of, I have a list, sorry. His last meal consisted of chicken legs, french fries, American cheese, orange drink, coffee, and chocolate pudding. Weird combination, if you ask me. Thank you guys so much for watching. All of the links of the information that I researched, all of the websites that I visited, any of the the topics that we covered, everything is down below that I personally researched. So if you want to check out the same websites I did, they're down there. I mean, no disrespect to any victims or anything like that, or family of the victims. I mean, no disrespect. I'm just highly interested in true crime, and I think it's definitely something that is, I want to do this as an informative thing to people. Watch your back. There are pretty crazy people out there. And me personally, I've just always been into true crime. I find it kind of interesting. So if you do too, that's obviously why you're here, or you're just looking for the information side of it. So I hope this was helpful. I hope you guys know that this obviously is not meant to be disrespectful in any way. So like I mentioned before, this is a series on my channel. So what I'm going to be doing is it's going to be every serial killer, notorious serial killer by state, one per state. So today's was Alabama. Next week is going to be Alaska, which we're going to talk about Robert Hansen or the Baker Butcher. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned because that is coming. Also, if you're interested in other creepy, scary things like me, I'm doing a series on urban legends as well, and I also did Alabama's Today, which is Hell's Gate Bridge, so go check out that video. I'll have it linked up here for you. Go ahead and check that one out. It's kind of interesting. It's definitely different than the serial killer side of it. It's more of like a urban legends, kind of like creepypasta type thing. So if you're interested in stuff like that, go check that out. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this, please give me a thumbs up and let me know down in the comments, how did you get into true crime? Are you as into true crime as me? Like, I have books on true crime. I listen to My Favorite Murder podcast and like different podcasts, which I will link some of those down below too, and some of my favorite serial killer books. If you guys are interested, they'll be down there. So, and I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thank you so much. Until next week, stay creepy.